You're gonna find out sooner or later, and you're going to feel rather ancient when you do. The Beatles' debut song, Love Me Do, is now in the public domain, at least in Europe. So what exactly do we mean when we're talking about public domain? So that's the condition of belonging to or being made available to the public as a whole, particularly due to not being subject to copyright or other legal restrictions. Yep, you heard that correctly. The most well-known and well-loved song from the Beatles, Love Me Do, is now being made available for purchase by the general public. So in today's video, we will be going to talk about the Beatles song becoming public domain. So how is that even possible? Although it is not the most enduring Beatles song, it hardly seems to be from another time, despite the fact that more than half a century has passed since it was released. The news about Love Me Do came out on Friday from an unexpected source. The website pristineclassical.com, which specializes in remastering old classical recordings, was protesting the amending change by offering a remastered version of Love Me Do. Love Me Do is one of the only two Beatles recordings, the other is P.S. I Love You, released in 1962 and is therefore in the public domain before the door slams shut. Extended copyright might not be the worst news in the world, but it is not good for a company like Pristine, which sells vintage symphonic recordings conducted by the likes of Wilhelm Furtwängler, Arturo Toscanini, and Eugene Ormandy. Considering that the major labels for which these performances were initially recorded have been bought and sold so many times that the current owners often don't know what their back classical catalog contains and don't care. Such indie labels are often the only way that these recordings will reach the public. The song Love Me Do is associated with an entirely distinct set of worries. Cliff Richard, a legendary figure in British rock music who is now 72 years old, has been campaigning for years to have the copyrighted expiration pushed back. Who would have believed something like that would be required, or that any rock star would survive for such a long time? The rock music of the 1960s was a point of youthful rebellion. Similar to other popular music trends at the time, part of its allure was that parents detested it. During a recent conversation on South Street, a young man observed to his older counterparts, "If there's one thing your age provided us, it's great music and excellent weed." The Rolling Stones were playing on the car radio at the time. It is beneficial that the music is still played frequently on the radio and on the sound system at your gym. This evergreen quality drives copyright revisions, and compositions are protected, but the music business has moved forward. This is different from the early 60s when Tony Bennett's I Left My Heart in San Francisco was covered by several other vocalists. And imitation was a major subculture. When Harry Belafonte's Banana Boat song became famous, unknown singers raced into recording studios to make cheap rush release versions. Then they were half price. Because of the Beatles, engaging in that practice was no longer possible. By the time that they got to the high concept songs like A Day in the Life in 1967, the most intriguing aspects of the songs, such as A Day's fantastical orchestral crescendo, couldn't even be translated into sheet music, much less imitated by anyone else. This was the case because they had reached a point in their career where they were able to do so. And you can also find a Bing Crosby cover of Hey Jude. And then Bob Dylan on the 50th anniversary collection, the Copyright Extension Collection Volume 1, is one of the most egregious examples of the fear that the impending expiration of copyrights has caused. Because the year of publishing, not the recording date, is the starting point for the protection of intellectual property. Sony Music is releasing a limited 4-set CD of early 60s outtakes that will only be available in Europe. This content, which is likely too raw for wider transmission, will not mean open season for enterprising indies to produce their own works. In many ways, Europe's laws are the same as ours. Is it possible to make an exception for classical music? However, since a lot of the music is still not in public domain, we will just have to listen and appreciate it as it is. So, what are your thoughts on today's video? Please let us know in the comment section below. And if you haven't done so already, Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our incredible videos. Keep an eye out for the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.